Hey guys, my name is Taylor, and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about the history of the atom and the progression of the atomic theory. Let's start with one of the very first scientists to contribute to the history of the atom, Aristotle. He believed that there were four elements: air, earth, water, and fire. He proposed the idea that matter could be infinitively divisible, which means that no matter how many times you cut a form of matter in half, you will always end up with a smaller piece of that matter. Which makes sense, but then you start to think, where does the rest of it go? That's where a second scientist, Democritus, comes along. Democritus believed that if matter was divided into smaller and smaller pieces, there would be a point where it couldn't be divided further, which totally contradicts Aristotle's first theory. Democritus said that matter was made up of indivisible particles, which he later called atoms. Now, moving all the way to 1772, we have Antoine Lavoisier, also known as the father of modern chemistry. He was the first person to succeed in determining the composition of water and in synthesizing the compound from its elements. He made careful measurements and discovered that mass was neither created nor destroyed. Continuing on, we meet John Dalton. Dalton believed that all atoms of one element are identical, but different from the atoms of other elements. This idea led to the production of the atomic theory in 1803. Dalton also discovered color blindness, an affliction he himself had suffered from. He determined that 5% of the male population and less than 1/10% of the female population were colorblind. Joseph John Thomson, more commonly known as JJ, he discovered the negatively charged electron using properties of cathode rays in 1897. He created the plum pudding model of the atom. In this model, the volume of the atom is composed of the bigger positive portion, the plum pudding, and the smaller electrons, the raisins in the plum pudding, are spread throughout the positive mass to uphold the neutral charge. In 1911, Ernest Rutherford performed the famous gold foil experiment using positively charged alpha particles, and as a result of this, proposed the nuclear atom. In 1920, he was the first person to refer to the hydrogen nucleus as a proton, also discovering a third atomic particle, the neutron. Moving along to Robert Millikan, an American experimental physicist who performed yet another famous experiment, this one being an oil drop test, which determined the unit of charge of the electron. This allowed the discovery that the proton had a positive charge. In 1929, Louis de Broglie discovered that electrons can act like waves, explaining many of the things electrons do that have never been explained before. He said that the waves produced by electrons contained in the orbit around the nucleus set up a standing wave of specific energy, frequency, and wavelength. These ideas led to the wave mechanics theory, in which he had won a Nobel Peace Prize for. Last but not least, we have James Chadwick, who discovered the neutron in 1932. This identification led to the discovery of fission and eventually to the atomic bomb. Hi again. Hopefully you have learned a bit about the atomic theory and who contributed to the discoveries leading up to it. Thank you for watching.
Created using Powtoon.